the idea that there's two parts that comes into trading. One of them is just being able to read the market. I'd say that's like the easiest part, getting to understand how the market moves, and then finding your model. And then comes the real hard one, which is mastering yourself. And that's the one where it really makes or breaks the trader. Because as much time as you invest into this craft, no matter how much you do, you won't achieve the success that you could potentially reach at your all-time high unless you are capable of mastering yourself. And it goes into a variety of things. It comes from a root. The root is the necessity, the purpose of why you're trading. Some people do it as a means to an end. For example, I did it with the concept that it was the only pathway I had to get out of my country, to experience life outside of what the common worker would in a third world country. Some people do it because they want to set their families up for life, their kids. Others do it in hopes to just create generational wealth. Everyone has their own kind of niche for why they try to pursue trading. Um, yeah, it's being recorded. Don't worry, you'll be able to review this after. But within that niche comes like our goals, right? We all have goals that we want to achieve by a certain amount of time or by a certain amount of accounts, P&L, payouts. And these goals are often what becomes our greatest obstacle in a way. I think a great example of this could be the story of Icarus, right? The man that flew too close to the sun and he eventually fell from the sky. In a way, I feel like it's really similar with trading in itself. When we are desperate to achieve our goals, and when we try to pursue these in desperation, we often become clouded by the bad habits and obsessions that obstruct us. So, for example, in my case, right, I was very obsessed, very desperate to achieve payouts again because I used to be consistent a long time ago, and then I became inconsistent and started getting my ass kicked in the market. So I was desperate to achieve that prime that I was in, and in that desperation, it kept extending the target away from me. And no matter how many times I was super close to it, it just felt further and further away. So one of the things that I'd say comes to benefit your psychology is to, I believe I've talked about this before, but it's to detach yourself from your goal. The more that you burden yourself with the objective, the more the weight is just going to hold you back. If you are able to detach yourself from the goal, you release yourself from this weight that controls you. And the weight can manifest in many different ways. It can manifest in FOMO, right? The fear of missing out a trade. Oh man, this setup is right here. I have to catch this setup no matter what to make some money to achieve my goal, of course. Or the, oh man, I just need to take this amount of trades in a day so that I can hit my weekly target or my daily target. I have to keep trading on the day to achieve my goal. Or, oh man, I just lost this amount in this bad idea. Maybe if I size double, I'll be able to make it all back and more to achieve my goal. So these kind of concepts and these manifestations that develop in your trading creates bad habits. Most people fail at this because they over leverage, they do bad size management, they overtrade, or they FOMO and chase trades that they're not supposed to chase. And it becomes a repetition of that. The thinking that, oh, this time things will be different. Oh, this time if I FOMO in, it's not going to be the same as the last time that I FOMOed in. Oh, this time if I enter 5 minis, it's going to be a different outcome than the last time I entered 5 minis. And yeah, there might be times where, let's say, you do full port an account in a PA, right? If it's evals, I get it that because we do NQ aggro, it's like whatever. But if it's like a PA account, if you're full point on a PA account, yeah, let's say you're lucky because it's really luck. You're lucky and you hit a massive win. So then you get the idea of, okay, what if I do it again? And that if I do it again and if you succeed is practically gambling. Because if you're wrong, you practically blow that account or lose all of those gains in one go. And then you get into that trance of desperation again to re-achieve that gain. And that's what really holds a lot of people back. And that's what held me back when I was inconsistent for a very long time. Because my trading style did not change at all. I kept doing the same TA I've been doing all since I started ICT. The only thing that changed was my mindset and how I approach things. And it was thanks to the idea of letting go of my objective. I personally, I don't care what happens in the market. I don't care how many trades I take. I only care about completing the setup in front of me. And that's what you guys usually see in my streams. Sometimes we only take one trade a day and that's it. We wait for the setup. It appears right before my eyes. I take it. I tell you guys straight up. If I'm confident, I enter my usual size. If I'm not confident, I enter half a size. Regardless if it hits my target or if it's chopping or if it's doing something I don't like, I'm in a science, in a management where I don't care if I'm wrong because I know I'll most likely get the next trade right. Or if I get both trades wrong, I'll still have a good trade in the future, and that good trade in the future is going to put me back at break even. And because I don't oversize, I'm not hurting myself because math plays into this, right? In let's say because we usually play with 50K accounts in the perception of, well, if I size 5 micros, that means I have to lose 250 points to blow the account. Realistically, I am assuming that all of us here are decent traders. We know TA, we know how we have our models. So realistically, what is the probability that you're able to lose 250 points consecutively? It's not very high probability, especially in a space where you know how to trade, you have all of these people around you with good ideas, good concepts. So if I know the probability for me personally to lose 250 points consistently is practically impossible if I have good risk management, then I don't have to care about how many losses I have. Because at the end of the day, my gains are going to beat how many losses I have. And because I'm no longer desperate for my objective or my target, I'm no longer going to feel the weight of the fear of missing out, the fear of getting the trade wrong, the fear of, oh, I have to over leverage to achieve this certain goal. And, people would ask me, why don't you trade the entire session? Because, for example, JD, he trades the entire session. He trades AM, he trades PM, sometimes he even trades London or Asia. That's his style. That's what he likes to do. But that's not my style. Because I am just seeking to make the most amounts of gains in 1 hour and go live my life. Because here's a thing a very close friend of mine said to me, Hitman, in fact, he's right here actually now I'm seeing it. So Hitman himself, he said, what's the purpose of trading if you're trying to escape? Ideally, when we start trading, it goes kind of like this. You're trying to trade to escape the 9 to 5 life. But if you're going to sit on a chart from 9 to 5, then you're practically doing the same thing you were doing previously. So you're not really escaping anything. I think I butchered it a bit, but that's the main concept. When we approach the markets, it's to create a better life for ourselves. But in attempting to create that better life, it's not to put ourselves in another position where we're spending our life. Because the biggest asset that we have that we will never make back is time. So if we want to enjoy our time on Earth, it's not ideally that we want to spend all of the time staring at a chart with this mental fatigue of, oh, I have to catch this trade, oh, I have to achieve this, oh, I have to do this before this. And it comes also with the desperation of, oh, if I have to achieve this goal because I have debts or anything like that, well, it's going to negatively impact you with a weight that becomes unbearable. And that weight is going to drive you to failure. So my recommendation would be definitely to try and detach yourself. to try and find a peace and a balance where you no longer depend ultimately on trading. I'd say one of those helpful things could be if you guys currently have a job, which I imagine most of you do since you're all adults, unlike me. But if you have a job, then believe that you don't need to make super results in trading at the moment because you are able to sustain yourself adequately. So you can take it slow. You can take it patiently. There's no rush in this. The market is going to be here tomorrow. It's going to be here every week. It's going to be here every month. This isn't something that's going to go away at any point. And that also goes that, like, not every day you need to trade. This week, or practically the month, has been all for price action. You guys have seen me trade, and most of my targets don't even hit. Like, yeah, my trade runs 20, 30 points, but my target doesn't hit and I get stopped out at break even. To me, it's whatever now because I don't really care about how much I make as long as I am able to be, uh, as long as I minimize my exposure to risk. But for people that don't see that, there's a lot of people that blew their accounts this week. A lot of people that blew their accounts this month. And a lot of people that didn't that really needed to pass their PAs or really needed to get a payout because they were desperate to trade even in the lowest conditions possible to try and achieve their goals. Not every trading day is meant to trade. I don't trade Tuesdays. For me, the day I'm not streaming, it's most likely because I have to do my classes and all of that. But I don't trade in college because there's no point for me to put my time into trading, knowing that I'm not going to really focus on it and I'm not going to really have the proper mindset for it. Because this is a business, this is a job in its essence. When I wake up, I put myself in the mindset of a trader and I have that certain mindset that I work with. And when I'm off, then I go back to living my normal life with a different mindset. And that's an essential thing to also keep in mind. Multitasking in a desperative position does not help at all. Oh, I don't have a major yet. I'm just a student. Um, but those are a couple of things I think are essential when it comes to dealing with yourself. And of course, it's easier said than done. I could be telling you all of this, you could be nodding your head in agreement, and you're gonna do the exact same thing next week and do bad habits. So it is easier said than done. But one thing that I could say as, let's say, advice to recommend on how you can start making like the steps to improve would be to start taking notes on your errors. I think whenever someone blows their account, whenever someone blows their PAs, or when they're about to reach a payout but they mess up and just ruin it all, they know why they did it. They know what they had to do different. And it's that self reflection that really leaves an impact. If you're able to self reflect, like, oh man, I was so close to this payout, but then I lost the trade and then I over traded and I spiraled out, then, in the future, just don't do that. As simple as it is. You write it down. I'd say write it down because it helps to write, to remember. You write it down, you put it in a sticky note or somewhere, and every time you take, let's say, a bad trade, you look back into that, you stick it in your head, you practically remember, okay, I lost this bad trade. I'm looking at this note right in front of me that's telling me don't spiral out, don't overtrade. Keep reminding it to yourself and just let go. Do not open another trade, do not try and do something else again. Just be patient and wait for what would be, let's say, your model or something high tier. Because you see me, yeah, I get stopped out sometimes, right? I'm not perfect. I'm wrong. Sometimes my ideas don't work out and the completely opposite happens, but I'm fine. I don't try and instantly get the inverse position because I know that, okay, well, my setup didn't work. I'll either wait for a better setup to appear or I'll probably say, hey guys, we're calling the day on a loss. I think that's something that a lot of people need to be able to understand as well. That to be a good winner, you need to be a really good loser. Because this game is all about being a good loser. And there's plenty of people on Twitter, for example, that are good winners. Like I see people making thousands and posting their P&Ls and telling people to buy their course. But then they have one bad day and they lose hundreds of thousands and they're like, they post that casual tweet. The, oh, had a bad day, no biggie, we keep moving. But deep inside, they're hurting bad. They're just looking for reassurance from the public because they're hurting from that losses, and that's because they don't know how to lose correctly. I don't think anyone should lose a vast amount of money or a vast amount of points unless you're literally breaking your system and your rules. So a way to start it would be create some rules for yourself that you try to stick by. Bro, I taught that guy, and he had it coming. But um, yeah, create rules for yourself would be the first thing I'd recommend, and try to live up to those rules every day. And if you break one of those rules, try to really dig in your head that you have to reflect on it and try again. Because breaking habits is hard. It's like breaking an addiction. Trading is like literally a casino. We're all addicted to trading. We're all addicted to gambling. And if we're addicted to something, it's really hard to let go. But by making little steps towards it, eventually you start developing a good habit that will let you let go of trading and let you let go of this addiction that you have. In For me, it was, Hitman is here and he knows. I would every time I'd blow my account, I kind of he would always joke around with it like, huh, Tyrant has been quiet lately. He most likely blew his account. And that's because it has always been like that. I'm someone that used to always be active, but whenever I'd go silent for like a decent period of time, he knew it's because I blew my account. And we started talking, and I would ask him some questions and things, he just straight up knew, like, just don't do the thing that you're doing. And it's so obvious, like, yeah, I don't have to do it. And by exposing myself to just first of all, I took a break. I think it's healthy to take breaks from trading, especially if you're in a bad streak. Because after a break, you have this clarity in your mindset, and it releases the fogginess. I took a 2 month break from trading. PK knows because he was always trying to annoy me, ask me, "Oh, when you coming back, Tyrant? When are you coming back? I miss you," like a little puppy. But break is always healthy. You take time, and when you come back, you reflect deeper on things and everything that kind of is going through. And when I came back, I looked at my rules and I said, you know what? I'm going to obey all of these rules to the T. I'm going to detach myself from my goal. And it's easier when you detach yourself too, because if you're desperate for something, you're not going to be able to follow your rules. Like, you're going to try, but then you're going to break them. But if you're able to detach yourself from the goal, as I was saying way earlier, you no longer have that weight. And if you no longer have that weight, it's much easier to follow the rules that you set yourself in. And most often, the rules are kind of what holds you to better standards. Like, if you know not to overtrade, then limit yourself to a certain amount of trades a day. I limited myself to one trade a day. And that way I was able to create the discipline of, okay, my first trade of the day failed. I'm going to have to accept the loss. I can't trade anymore. That's it. I have to stop. And it's really hard to say that. I have to stop is one of the hardest things to say. But if you consistently are able to do it for a period of time, it becomes a habit, like brushing your teeth. When we were little kids, nobody liked brushing their teeth, but by doing it as a habit, eventually you start doing it every day without realizing it. And the same thing kind of incorporates into trading. If you start little by little respecting your rules, it becomes a habit that eventually pays off in the long term. For me, by not overtrading, not oversizing, not FOMOing in, and being patient, because you guys see me patient as fuck. Even when I miss the setup that I'm looking for, I'm still patiently waiting for the trade that I want to see. Or if I'm in a trade and I see someone inverse me, like JD, sometimes I'm long and he's short, that's perfectly fine. Because I'm following my rules, and if I happen to be wrong, well, I'll be wrong. But I'm willing to accept that. I'm not going to be shaken out of it just because someone experience is also going against me. And most often, I end up being right, and JD still managed to make bank because he has a different trading style than I have. He's a scalper. So he would scalp the move where price would retrace against me, and then he'd go long, or he would look for a different trade or just be patiently while I'm waiting for my thing to work out. And it's been multiple times like that. So as long as you stick by your rules, it's much easier. Because I also know that while I'm in my trade, there's people that consistently trading the small intervals of that exact trade. And they're getting either burned out by taking silly losses or cutting trades too early because they're panicking by the drawdown. A lot of people are scared of drawdown. And that's a thing that you've also got to start to embrace. Being red isn't bad. I'd say think of it like this. If this is why risk sinking is also so good, because risk sinking would allow you to have like all of the room you need to withstand drawdown. But if you only have one account, is it worth entering 5 micros and getting stopped out for 10 points if you're going to enter again and have another stop for 10 points? So you enter once, you get stopped out. You enter twice, let's say a second time works out, but you already lost 10 points and you have to basically make now 20 points to be back in a little bit of green. Or you enter, you don't count for 10 points, but you instead wait for 20 points. That way, when price pushes right back up, you don't even have to bother exiting for the 10 points or scaling out for the 10 points to be at break even, because you're already going to be back at break even. So you're essentially mitigating the already risk that you have, and you're also not expending mental capital. Because over trading for long periods of time gives you fatigue. It gave me a lot of fatigue when I would trade the morning session to PM session, all streaming it, all documenting it. It was tiring, especially when I got my butt kicked, and then I had to be like, oh, okay, I have to make it back. People lost money in my trade, so now I have to make it back for them as well, and it's a hard cycle. So I'd say those are kind of the main highlights that we really want to incorporate into things. And little by little, chips by chips, you keep doing it and eventually becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, you will definitely start seeing the outcome in the long term. The moment that I stopped thinking about money and I started instead thinking about points, my goal is ideally 30, 40 points a day, but I try to hold to like 80 or 70 points a day. And that's all my focus isn't really. Holding to my targets, holding to that. And at the end of the week, I see how I did. Usually, I make a good amount of points that when I turn back on the numbers to look at the money, oh man, I made a good chunk of money. And that's able to give me some sort of satisfaction. But also, since I'm detached, I'm also not really like super worried or super scared that, oh, I didn't reach my quota. Oh, I didn't do this. Because I know next week I probably will reach it or I'll get the steps towards it. And if you guys do not do the effort to really achieve this, you're practically going to be wasting your time. Because these evals, unless Apex is doing a 1 day pass, these evals take time. There's the 7 trading days. Assuming that you guys didn't get an eval during the 1 day pass, but there's the 7 trading days. So 7 trading days is a week. And then there's 10 trading days to get the payout. And that's practically 2 weeks. You're spending 3 weeks of your life to get a payout. And if you're unable to break these bad habits that you have and you blow the account right before you get the payout, you essentially wasted 3 weeks of your life. And every month has like what, 4 weeks? So that's practically a month thrown in the garbage. And that's precious time. So if you really put it into perspective, is it really worth it to rush things knowing that you will highly put yourself in a position where you will waste 3 weeks of your life? Or to take things patiently, where even if it does take 3 weeks, it's been patient, it's been disciplined enough that you are either close to reaching your goal or you literally hit your goal and you can secure something. Now, I know that a lot of people here have firm psychology, so it's not really an issue for them, but there's a lot of people that really struggle from this. And it's what breaks the trader because at the end of the road, it reaches the point where they either quit or they keep trying, but they're not seeing results no matter how much they try. As I said, for me, I PK knows me best, Hitman knows me best. They've been with me since like the very beginning. My trading style never changed, but they know that I reached a point where I was in my breaking point as well. In my scenario, right? I had to take a job. I had to quit trading for a bit, and I had to take a job planting tomatoes, right, out of everything, because I didn't have enough money to trade again. And I needed to take a time where afterwards I was able to get back in the game. And then after reaching that breaking point, I was implementing all of the rules that eventually led to me, having enough money to even come to Canada. So it eventually adds up. All of that commitment, all of those habits, and it's really just a trying to think of the right word. It's really a promise that you give yourself. The promise that you really want to make this work, so you're going to do everything you can. And when you say you're going to do everything you can, is you really are going to take the time to reevaluate everything you're doing and to commit. Just as much as you commit to waking up every day and doing your job, or waking up every day and looking after your kids, you got to commit to this business because this is really a business. This isn't necessarily a hobby. Some people make it a hobby after they are successful, but this is a business where you want to maximize your output while minimizing the risk and minimizing your health risks as well. Because trading, like any other addiction, is unhealthy. It became very unhealthy for me. I burned my eyes out. I used to have perfect vision, but because I would constantly but years ago, I would trade all of the sessions. I tried trading New York, I tried trading London, I tried trading Asia. The constant being right in front of a screen burned my eyes out, and now I need permanent glasses. So it's also taking care of your health, physically and mentally. I'd say those are my recommendations for when it comes to the psychology of things. Self-reflectiveness, putting rules, committing, and making little steps. It's really important, the little steps, because habits aren't broken in a day. It probably is going to take you weeks before you're able to completely get rid of your bad habits. But if you do the little steps that will encourage that, it definitely leaves a mark in the long-term view. Um, I think that's pretty much everything I had to say regarding that, my little monologue. But if you guys have any questions, or in fact, if you have anything that you feel that resonated with you and you'd like my opinion on it, go ahead and ask. Because, yeah, well, I never used glasses before computers. I always, and I was weird. I had max brightness and everything in a dark room. So I just did disservice to myself. But I would encourage that we kind of make this like a chat. It's press to talk if any of you guys want to talk and share something or get advice on something. Because as much as I rant and I can say, oh, you got to do this, this, and this, everyone has their own personal battle going on. Everyone has their own demons that they're trying to overcome. And everything that I'm saying, although I'm trying to make it generalized so it kind of reaches into all of you, I know deep down each one of you have your own thing going on. So it's not the same. Yeah. Like I've told you before, Pika, you have to detach yourself from it. Especially because I know that you, like everyone else, we need money, right? And it's that need that pushes things away the most. In my Apex Evons, yes, I do them because I think risk thinking is very great, especially when Amnaj kind of taught it. It it really minimizes the risks. And let's say we have, ideally, when I'm in a trade, you guys, I've said it countless times. I need to see three PD arrays invalidated for me to know that my stop loss is going to get hit. Either that or the model I'm in. So if I know that there's three PD arrays that I'm looking at for the absolute invalidation to the point that I know I should just exit because it's pointless to be in the trade, then I know that those are the three PD arrays I can enter in different accounts. So let's say I have a fair value gap, I have a breaker, and then I have an order block, and then there's the swing low. I would go long on the fair value gap, I would go long on the breaker, and I would go long on the order block. Stop loss at the very swing low. That's how I would do the risk sinking in my case. Because now, each time it pushes into that very extreme point, the risk for each of the other sizes is different. So for the account that went in on the order block, it's, let's say, 10-point risk. For the account that entered on the breaker, it's a 15-point risk. And for the account in the fair value gap, it's a 20-point risk. So it's a lot more diverse. And if it ends up working out, then the account at the very bottom makes an extra 10 points of profit. The account at the middle makes an extra 5 points of profit. And the account at the very top just practically break even. So I definitely recommend using that. But also, managing size correctly. Because if you enter, let's say, uh, unevenly, so if I enter 5 micros in each account, then I will have a good um, reward. But if I enter, let's say, 5 minis on the order block one, just because it's super close to the stop loss, well, if I'm wrong in the idea in general, and I lose 5 minis on that order block, then it's practically as if I lost uh, if I didn't even risk sync at all, because they ended up having the same exact risk or more. So I think it's very important to have adequate sizing as you do it. See, now that's a valid thing. The over leveraging when you get stopped out and being married to an idea or being married to a bias. So the beautiful thing about ICT is it teaches us that the market is driven by an algorithm, right? That's the whole concept. It's driven by an algorithm, and within that algorithm, there's manipulation happening at every point, and our job is to identify when it's manipulating and when to catch the distributing move to that manipulation to where people's stop losses are. That's the whole gist of it. We see that price is going to go towards the stop losses of the bears. We look for the sell model. What the algorithm does gives us its hints of manipulation. We enter the manipulation. It distributes to their stop, wipes the bears out. We win on longs. That's essentially the whole gist of ICT. So if we're wrong in our trade, it means, or if we get stopped, depends of your stop loss, right? If you have the stop loss at the very swing high or at the invalidation point, that's the biggest hint that your idea in general is just straight up wrong. I'll do the analogy in a second. But if you know that your setup is just straight up wrong, then there's no reason for you to be looking for a re-entry. And that's why me, in my case, right, if I'm wrong, well, I wait for more data because I have to identify what went wrong. When we're wrong in a trade, there's always going to be something that justifies why we're wrong. Or when we get stopped out at break even, there's always going to be something there that shows us why we're wrong. It's not random. Price has its elements. And it's like when we did that session when we were paper trading, right? I told you guys, the bearish setup didn't work. So logically, now longs should work, even though there was no buy model. Longs should work in theory because it should wipe out that stop up there. And once it wipes out that stop, it will probably make a sell model to distribute towards the sell side that we were looking for. And that's exactly what happened. Because logically and algorithmically, that's how price moves. So a way to avoid being married to an idea is either using the 3PD array rule, which is, I'd say, is quite effective, or waiting until your setup is absolutely invalidated. If your setup is absolutely invalidated, you do not need to look for shorts again. Or if your bias is short and you don't see any short setup, then you don't do anything. You just wait. And again, going back to the math, if you know that if you, let's say, even if you size 1 mini, if you know that to fail the account, you have to lose 125 points, then you know not to oversize than 1 mini. Because if you oversize, you're practically limiting your account to just losing one trade can practically blow the account. But if you keep it to one exact sizing that you know mathematically will work out, then you're able to have a lot more exposure to losses. So I know if I were to do my usual stop is around 20, maybe sometimes pushing into 30. So if I know that I have to lose 250 points to blow the account, that means I have to get around uh, 9, 10-ish trades wrong to fail. And that's plenty of room for me to, considering that I trade once a day, that's plenty of room for me to make a good trade and make it all back. Now, if you're over leveraging, that destroys the math. That makes it so that, you either blow the account in one trade or you probably pass or go into break even in one trade. And I know that if you're in red, you're not going to hold a full port to target. No, you're going to exit the moment you have somewhat of green. So you risked all of that for nothing, practically. So my recommendation to you, Rachel, would be if you if your setup is invalidated, don't bother trying to get back in. And if your setup is not invalidated, then there's really no reason for you to be even out. And if you feel like, oh, I can't wait for my setup to become invalidated, well, then you should reorganize your size management. Because I'm not sure if you've been watching my streams, but I've been in drawdown. I've been in choppiness for like an hour of drawdown and then it does my move. But I'm not worried because my sizing is so adequate that even if I'm wrong, it's not going to do anything to me. But I get it in the sense that, oh, I'm like really heavy in this position. If I wait for the setup to become invalidated, I'm going to blow the account. So I need to exit the moment that I feel like it's going to become invalidated. And the market is tricky. It does stop rates, it does inducements, it traps people. Um, but actually, I feel like there's a really good analogy that Hitman. I think Hitman, you should say it because I don't want to butcher it like the other one.
You sure?
Yeah, you go ahead and say the analogy so they know.
So there's an analogy that I always used to say to people when I was teaching, and to Tyron as well. If I told you all that I go to a gas station Monday through Friday, but every Tuesday I always get robbed, what would you tell me? And anybody can answer this. It's not a trick question. Yeah, right? Don't go on Tuesdays. Makes sense. But then if I come back to you the next week and say, hey, I went again on Tuesday and I got robbed again. And I keep going on Tuesday and I still keep getting robbed, right? At some point, you'd probably just say, yo, you're stupid, right? To some degree. Like, you deserve it. And that's how I would approach those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't do in the market, right? Because usually when people blow accounts, when they lose money, and you ask them, what happened? It's always, oh, I FOMO'd. I knew I shouldn't have FOMO'd. Oh, I moved my stop. I knew I shouldn't have done this. Oh, I was revenge trading because I lost money. I knew I shouldn't have got back in the market. It's always, I knew I shouldn't have. I knew I shouldn't have. But they did it anyways. You know? You keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to keep getting the same results that you've been getting. So that's my gas station analogy.
Yeah. So that exact repetition of doing something that you know you shouldn't do is and expecting a different outcome. It's also that. Like if you know that you're getting robbed on Tuesday, then don't go Tuesday. Why would you expect something different to be the result that is not getting robbed? So if I know that every time that I FOMO in a trade, I'm most likely going to mess up and blow the account, then just don't I should just not do it. Why bother doing it? It's never worked before and it's never worked now. It's never gonna work in the future. And that's also a thing I incorporated myself for my sizing. Because I used to have a very bad niche with over leveraging after a couple of losses as well. So if I knew, oh man, every time I do 5 minis, I blow my account, then I just don't do 5 minis. Straight up, just don't do it. And by sticking to that, I no longer blow my accounts by over leveraging. And that's kind of like how we got to incorporate all of these things to break those bad habits. If you have the bad habit of taking trades that are outside of your model and you know that when you take those trades it does not work out for you, then just don't do it. Just stick to your model and be patient and wait for it. If you know that if you enter the trade and you get scared and you exit the moment you're in drawdown but your trade runs, then you know, okay, I got to not be scared. I got to trust the setup in front of me. There's a reason why these are called models in the first place. There's a market maker model, there's the 2022 model, there's the unicorn model, because ideally the algorithm does things consistently in these areas so many times, so many different days, so many different months, the same exact thing, that it's no longer coincidence. It's more of a strategy, a pattern, I'd say. So for I trade the 2022 model. I know that for the 2022 model, I need to see this happen every single time, and I don't want to see this happen every single time. So if I enter the trade and I'm in a little bit of red, well, I don't need to get scared because as long as what I know doesn't happen, I am fine. And if I see what I want to see happen, then I just let it be because I know uh, what the most likely outcome is going to be as well. I think I kind of ran out of things to say, but that is the the perception in all of the psychological things, and that's how what really helped me out to find my sort of flow within the market. And even on bad days, right? This whole week, I got stopped out at break even, and you guys have seen me. My trades would be in profit. We would be so close to my target, we wouldn't hit it. I got stopped out on break evens, whatever. It's been just it happens to everyone, you know. Me considering I'm like the trader that trades the New York AM, right? You'd expect like, oh, Tyrant should be banking like JD does every single day. No, I do my thing, and I do it well, but that's because of experience and also implementing all of my rules, and I'm happy that way. I don't need to change anything in my trading style. I just need to have a greater mindset on what to do and what not, what I should not do. But that would be my advice for you guys. If anyone would like to ask a question, go ahead. Otherwise, I did kind of run out of things to say. So, can I run through the morning analysis and the setup I like? Uh, it's sure. I mean, we could do that. Make it a little bit of a TA class pushing to the end. I'm a very simple man, though. Like, I don't do anything spectacular when it comes to trading, and that's another thing as well. You don't really want to overcomplicate things. And that's something that Hitman helped me learn as well, because I was jumping over every trading trend. Everything that would come up on Twitter, I'd slap it on my chart and I'd try and figure it out how it works and why it works and how to make money out of it. And I've been through everything. I've heard every single new rebrand of ICT concepts, all of these strategies. At the end of the day, I always went back to what was the simplest thing. And Hitman told me, keep it simple. Because it really is. Trading is simple. I don't even pay for TradingView Premium because I don't need indicators. I don't need anything in my chart. All I need is what current price action tells me because it's very simple. And my go-to setup is genuinely as I'm going to draw it right here. It's genuinely just this. This is everything I need to become successful. It's the waiting for price to raid people out. So to stop everyone that's in their position to manipulate them out, then to make a shift in price, retrace into a discount, and then go to liquidity. It's this the most simple model in existence, but it works so well because it is just how the market moves. It's just algorithmically how it works. Now, of course, it comes to the term like, oh, how do you know that that one is gonna work? Right? That's the question. How do you know that that model right there is gonna work? Because I tried taking that exact model 4 different times, and I was wrong. And that's what happens. That's why most ICT traders are also unsuccessful. It's so simple, but why am I wrong? Well, then comes the parts of, well, are you going against the trend? Do you have the correct bias? Did you make the right narrative? Are we in a high time frame PDRA? It comes to all of those different niches. But that's an entirely different thing. One thing is the entry model, which mine is the most simplest one. I'm not special when it comes to that. I don't have any fancy names or any fancy strategies, but it's the most reliable model out there. And of course, me, I wake up at 10 a.m. and I'm able to make a narrative instantly because time is fractal. Everything is fractal. So if let's say I wake up right here and I see this straight up in the morning, first of all, I'm going to think this is disgusting, so I'm not even going to be interested in kind of doing anything here. But if I were to assume anything, it would be like, okay, well, where are we coming from? Let's see, 4 hour, we are grinding down into this 4 hour fair value gap. We pushed higher from that 4 hour for 50%. In addition, we took out this 1 hour sell side liquidity. We ended up making a 1 hour bullish fair value gap. And although price action has been disgusting in this 1 hour fair value gap, we're still in it. So for me, this is telling me, okay, well, all of this consolidation might lead to a pump up to buy side. So if I think this, all I need to see in small time frames is it's a buy model. That's it. It's as simple as that. So if I look for a buy model in small time frame and I see it, I'll take it. If it fails, okay, crap, it failed. What did I miss? Well, let's see. I know that we were pushing up, but what if this was just simply price respecting this 1 hour order block right here, chopping around to instead go for sell side liquidity right here? Okay, so that might be the correct narrative. So if that's going to be the correct narrative, then I look for a sell model and I take it to sell side. Oh, you guys can't see it. uh, my bad. But oh, jeez. All right, let me see. How do I switch this? Okay, man, how awkward. But it goes the same. So raid, just imagine everything I said, but with the drawing now. It's the super simplest model. Raid wipes out manipulation, does the shift for traces into either a breaker or fair value gap. You take it towards the draw of liquidity. This is my go-to model. This is all I do in my life because it's super simple. It's keeping it simple. It's simply managing the trade and having right psychology. Right after that comes of course, the narrative reading and all of that. That's an entirely different thing. I was yapping about it for a bit, but it goes to the question, are you fighting against the that would have been funny. But it goes to the idea of, okay, well, are you trying to look for buys during a bearish trend? Like, where's the logic in that? Why would you do that? Oh, well, it just seemed like there was a 1 minute buy model in this bearish trend. Well, think of that. If we're in a bearish trend, what's the probability that 1 minute model is going to work for you? Well, very unlikely. So don't even bother looking at it. Oh, if it's a 5 minute model, okay, maybe that's a bit different. That's why ideally when we're in like a trend, you hear me or JD say, we're waiting for a 5 minute shift. Because that's ideally what would kind of give us the hint that, oh, price might stop doing certain thing. Or logically, right? Price pushed deep into a discount. And since it's in a discounted area, you know that if we're bearish, we have to go back to a premium. So, okay, I'll look to play the retracement. I'll go long, knowing that it's a retracement, not a reversal. And once it hits my retracement target, I go short. It's super simple. I know it can be hard at the moment, but after you do it consistently enough, it'll become easy. But that's why I say TA is the easy part. The hard part is the mentality. Because what you do within all of that price movement is what really defines your success or your failure. It's the, oh, price retraced into a discount. I'm going to go long. Oh man, price started shooting up. I'm going to chase knowing that this is a long to play a retracement. I'm going to FOMO in. I entered long at the top. Oh crap, it was just a retracement. Now it's going back down. I have to exit for a loss. Or, oh man, I went long. It didn't hit my target. I'm going to hold and I'm going to average down. You get stopped out. Crap, I got stopped out. I'm going to try instantly shorting because now I know that this was a retracement to go short. So I'm going to instantly short, but this time I'm going to do double my size. Let's say price chops instead. You blow your account. So it's all of those little psychological things that comes in the moment. I'd say as simple as TA is, like I mentioned, I don't have. Here's even the ad for TradingView Premium because I get these ads all the time. I have no purpose for any of these drawings, anything. At this point, I can read price by just looking at it. I don't even need to draw anything in my chart because I've been consistently doing the same exact thing every day with the same exact model. So it's more of a convenience, just so I don't forget that there's like a PD array there. But it goes like that one saying: if why do 1,000 different kicks when you can just do one kick and master that? I've been doing one kick since I started trading, and eventually I started with 1,000 different ones, but then I found one kick that I really liked, and I stuck to it, and that's how I got where I am here with you guys. I did it so well that eventually, JD found me. He was like, "Damn, this guy is good. I'm gonna ask him to join my server," and now I'm here because I consistently was able to do that all this time, and I was able to break all of those barriers that held me back. And it also goes to like that one saying that LMT has in his bio: you gotta be like water. I'm adaptable in any market. I'm calm and patient in any market because I'm like water. I'm able to adapt and flow into any environment that I'm in. And you guys got to ideally adapt yourself to be like that as well. Not marry any biases, not break your rules, not go into any bad habits. Because if you do that, then you're going to break apart and you're going to fail. Yeah, bro, I'd rather spend. How much is the TradingView subscription? I remember when they upped the price. Let's see. Yeah, I'd rather spend $12 buying myself a sandwich than pay for this. But it goes to say you don't need the most fanciest tools either. Like some people would say, "Oh, maybe I need to buy like all of these computers, all of these monitors." Dude, I've been trading in a laptop. I do everything I do in a laptop. You don't need the most fanciest rig to become successful in this. And I don't know if some of you saw my previous setup before the laptop, but it was worse. It was trash. So you don't need to depend on anything but yourself. To become successful in this game, it's you against you. That's the main thing. Nothing else is holding you back. And that's kind of like the beautiful thing about trading. You can do it anywhere. You can do it however you want on your phone, on the computer. But at the end of the day, what defines success is you fighting your own demons and beating them. No one is going to be able to be successful in this for you. And I used to be an options trader. I used to do signals for people. That's how I started. When I was I started in the options market first. So I would do signals for people. I would help them out and everything. But at the end of the day, I learned that that didn't help them at all in the long term because after I stopped doing option signals, they were left stranded. They didn't know what to do because they relied on me to just like tell them where price was going and just slapping the entry. And when it came to them trying to learn by themselves, well, they were never able to beat the psychological barrier and they ended up either quitting or just giving up. And that's why I started kind of like streaming to educate people as well. I've taught a lot of people as and a lot of the people that I know from back in my server that I don't talk to, they either gave up because I also did a bad job. I'd say I did a bad job and I tried to offer myself too much as a signal guy rather than focusing on teaching what really matters. And what really matters isn't being able to tell where the market is going, but it's being able to tell or fighting your own kind of weights and demons in itself. Because looking at it from a perspective of this, let's say, uh, there's people that even though have like a 30 or 40% win rate, are more successful than I am. And that might be hard to believe. Like imagine someone that takes 10 trades and they lose 6 or 7 trades, but they're more successful than I am. How can that be? Because they have their model, they have their psychology set, and they are able to maximize the most out of it by minimizing the most risk. And by minimizing the most risk, it isn't just in trade management, but it's also in their psychology by not making stupid mistakes, that they are able to maximize their profit. And there's a guy that I used to know that used to trade gold. He would lose a lot, but he would always somehow have thousands of dollars every month. And that also kind of gave me the hint. I don't really need to care about winning too much as long as I win bigger than I lose and I manage my things correctly. Yeah, thank you for showing that. Yeah, that used to be my first setup when I started trading, David, what David hinted at. So when I first started trading, I had a broken computer connected to a cheap working monitor, and that's how I started. Eventually, I made enough money with trading that I bought a gaming laptop. And now that I'm in a better position, I'm gonna buy a better setup soon. But it shows, right? This is a long-term thing. I've been doing this since technically a quarter of my life because I'm like 20. So I've been doing this for almost 6 years now. So it adds up from the very beginning to the very end. Eventually, things change. You just gotta be consistent, you gotta be disciplined, and you gotta be believing in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're never gonna accomplish this either. I've seen plenty of people quit because they think that they don't got what it takes. You don't need to have a lot to make it work. You just need to have the right mindset. Because Colombian pesos to dollars, that's a big difference, right? For me to risk dollars, that's tough. But I had the right mindset, and I did things patiently and slowly until eventually I got to where I am. Oh, I haven't ordered it. I'm thinking between ordering it now or ordering it once I move out from the apartment. Because I don't want to order it and then it takes too long and then it arrives here and I'm in like a different apartment. Yeah. So the moment I move out, bam. Oh, when I'm close to moving out. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. I don't really have anything else to say unless you guys want to comment something.
All right. I'm new here, so I do not really understand. I don't know you very well. Could you speak a little bit about yourself, how you started trading, where you live? Just talk about yourself.
Sure. I mean, I started like five. I'm not exactly sure when I started, but I know it was firm 5 years. And I started because as a as a kid in a third world country, you start to learn how reality works. If you're broke, you're never getting out of the country. That's just how it works. Even if you work a 9 to 5, unless you're a businessman, a politician, or a drug dealer, you're not making it out. So after I saw The Wolf of Wall Street, I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna invest in the stock market. I'm gonna get out of here. And what's what made push into options first. And I was lucky. I was one of those idiots that got lucky in options, made a crap ton of money, and then blew that. Especially with the AMC. That's when I really got into it. Because I would do like penny stocks, things like that. But when AMC came out, I put 800 bucks in AMC. Bruh, that turned. Can you believe it? With options, 800 bucks turned into $64,000. I thought I was a goddamn god. And then I blew all of that money in the next coming months. And I didn't make a penny. But that also kind of dug into my mind that, okay, just as fast as I can make money, I can lose it all. So I gotta really learn this. And I spent like 3 years learning it properly. I was a retail trader. I used to do levels, EMAs, flow, all of that. So for the first 3 years, I did that and I didn't have any success. But once I started dabbling into ICT, That's when things shifted for me. That's when I knew, okay, I know how to read the market. I'm able to be consistent. I'm able to. I moved in from options. I went to CFDs, so CFD prop firms, and that's when I was when I started to put myself as a public figure as well. I started teaching people, and I started implementing my presence. Because before, ICT was not popular on Twitter. It was like taboo. Nobody talked about it. So I would teach certain people. I would showcase my abilities and things, and I was relatively good. In fact, there was time where I'd say in my prime, 3 months I had a 100% win rate. So for 3 months, every day I caught more than 100 points consistently for those 3 months, and I felt I had so much ego because of it. In fact, that's why my user now is Tyrant, but before I used to be Misk 100. The 100 came out of the idea of just that I just made 100 points every day, and I became known for that. But after those 3 months, I got my ass kicked, and I spiraled out, and I blew all of that money. So can you believe it? 3 months of gains lost in 1 month. Crazy. But that also gave me a kick of reality that things needed to change. And it's those kicks of reality that really pushes you to become the best trader you can be. Once I had that last kick, it was a big learning curve. Because at that point, it really made me know that it isn't about technical analysis. Because that's the thing. People think that, oh, I just need to know how to read the market and I'm going to be successful. It's not like that. When you learn technical analysis and you're able to read the market, that's just the easy part. The hard part comes from yourself. And I'd say it took me a good firm year or two to master myself to reach the point that I am in. And after I was able to master myself is when I finally started making money. So I started making money. I bought myself a new computer. I paid my family's debts because my family went bankrupt because of COVID. So I had to pay my dad's debts. I had to look after my family. Uh, Thanks to trading, I was able to pay my own tuition. Can you believe that? Paid international tuition, the pricey as fuck. But I was able to pay it off, and I was able to pay my sister's tuition as well. So trading and being able to master myself gave me all of the things that I was aspiring for. Because that's the point. I detached myself from my goal, but by detaching myself from my goal, I was able to achieve that and a lot more. So my goal at the beginning was to leave Colombia, to get out of the country. And eventually, like here I am. I'm in Canada, right? I mean, I'm studying something, but I'm here. So I achieved that goal by detaching myself from it. Nowadays, I am kind of like, what should be my next goal? Because I achieved what I wanted, but it's that premise that everything in my life changed the moment that I started thinking differently. The moment that I started fighting for against myself. And I was able to make so much consistent gains without even batting an eye that I was able to achieve everything that I have right now. And I won't say that I'm super rich because I'm not, right? I'm just like any of you. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm working for LMT. I need money, so I'm going to work to make money. But I'm not letting that desperation for money control me. I know that if I were to quit trading today, I can continue living a life worth living, and that trading isn't going to be my defining factor. That if I fail, I'm just done with life or anything like that, or I'm going to be stuck again. And by allowing that to happen, I'd say everything's going good right now. There's always room for more, and that's why I'm super happy to be in this community as well. Because after you beat yourself, comes the gains, right? You make money, but now it comes, how do I make more money? And that's why I think NQ Agro is fantastic. Because if you can start implementing NQ Aggro while you already mastered yourself, it's practically an infinite money glitch, a mathematical gem that I'm trying to dip my toes into effectively, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I'd say in a nutshell, that's me, you know, started from the bottom, reached to where I am by being consistent, by mastering myself, and it goes to show like I'm trying to highlight this as much as possible. My turning point was not TA. It was mindset. That's what changed everything for me. Because I trade like the average Joe. My charts are not pretty. They're like the most basic thing ever. It's all about what goes in my head. Yeah, Kuma, just like that. Any other questions?
I believe that as somebody that you, as you mentioned, you came from a third world country. How did your parents see trading? Because from my experience as well, I have 20 years old. I'm 20 years old. And this is not something that a lot of people believe is something that is sustainable. Everybody believes that this is just some type of gambling. And everybody still tells me, you go to university. Of course, I'm doing university as well. I'm paying for my own tuition too. And I'm going to be doing both. But to a lot of people, especially that are not financially educated, they see this as something bad. So, how did you interact with your parents in the beginning?
Oh, it's a little bit funny. At first, they were really, really like worried because they thought I was full of shit and that I was stealing drugs. So when I started having a lot of money, it kind of came to that stereotype of how Colombians sell. So they were worried that I was just lying and I was dealing. But eventually, when I started showing them, no, I'm doing this, they got worried again. They thought I was gambling because they thought the stock market was like rigged, which it is. It's technically rigged, but if you don't know that it's rigged, then it is kind of like gambling. But they thought I was just throwing money away, gambling, and I had to really kind of inculcate to them that it is something that a lot of people do, and I had to. It helped showing them figures of people like icons, like Warren Buffett, showing them that hey, there's people that did this for a living. Like, look, Warren Buffett invested in the stock market, became successful, and is a billionaire, right? I think I can do this too. I just need to have some support. I just need some time, and you guys will be able to see that as well. And they just they believed in me. They gave me that room, but it was also like, hey, don't drop your studies. Don't do this because if you drop education and let's say trading doesn't work, what are you gonna do with your life? And we kind of made the deal that okay, I'm going to continue doing my studies, but you guys gotta let me kind of continue doing this because I was underage, so I needed like especially in the options thing. I think it was like a parental account, something like I had to use their IDs basically, so I needed their consent and stuff. But uh, by explaining it to them well and showing them results, like oh, look, I made $18 and I was able to actually take out the $18. Like oh, okay, this is starting to be legit, and that worry that they had kind of disappeared. But I think it was mostly the fact that I was able to show them that, listen, even if this doesn't work out, I'm still going to be studying, I'm still going to be working for my future, so you have nothing to worry about. Is what really helped them calm down. Because there's people that think, oh, I'm going to become a full time trader. I'm going to drop out of college. I'm going to drop out of uni. I'm going to quit my job. And then they don't succeed and they struggle a lot. And I think that's like the biggest nightmare for a parent to see. Their children struggling. And I've had plenty of people that did exactly that, that they quit their job to become full-time traders. They got lucky and now they're losing all of their money. They're dabbling into their savings and they're losing their savings too because they were just not ready. And it goes to what Hitman said, if you are struggling trading and you don't have a job, then just find a job and it'll make you feel a lot better because you won't be depending on your savings. But to go back to that question that you asked, that was kind of like the introduction to it. I just showed them proof of people that celebrities that invested, became popular, succeeded. I showed them that I was doing it too, but I also reassured them that I wasn't going to let this consume my future and my life, that I was going to still do other things, like go to college and exist out of trading. Because there's people that get consumed by this. This is still a casino in technicality. The people that throw their life savings into a trade, and that's why Wall Street bets exist. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, of Wall Street bets. I'm sure one guy here is the E with that profile picture. But A lot of people get that mentality that I'm gonna full port my life into one trade. And if it works, hooray. But if it doesn't, your life is ruined. And that's something that my parents was really worried about. But after reassuring it to them that I wasn't doing those sort of behaviors, it it helped out.
Thank you for answering.
Any other questions, or is that all for everyone? All right, I guess that's everything. I hope you all enjoyed this class. Hopefully, you took something out of it positive that you will be able to implement in the following weeks. Just remember, everyone, you know, this is a long journey. This is not something that happens within a month. It's something, it's going to take time. And because it's going to take time, you're going to have to be patient about it. And trust, it's way better to be patient about it than be desperate. Because, like I was going with the analogy earlier, to pass an eval and reach payout, you're practically using 3 weeks of your life. So if you're gonna spend 3 weeks of your life and blow the account at the end, you might as well be patient doing it instead of rushing it. So that would be my recommendation. Make a list of rules that you guys want to follow the next coming weeks. Try and be disciplined to actually abide by them. A little tip that helped me out was whenever I entered a trade and I started to feel my heart pump or my anxiety go up by moving my leg a lot, I would reevaluate what I was in. Am I oversizing to the point that I don't feel comfortable? Is that why I'm feeling the beat of my heart? Or am I anxious because I'm insecure of the trade? Reevaluate those things and start to implement it little by little. It adds up. But most importantly, the main emphasis of all of this, detach yourself from your goal. Do not be like Icarus. Do not fly towards the sun too high up that eventually you fall. Instead, stay low, focus on the present, and your goal will be there at the end. Just like for me, I accomplished my goal without even focusing on it and without even trying it. You guys will all accomplish your goals as long as you aren't obsessed about it, desperate about it, and you're not letting it define who you are, what you are right now. So that's how we're going to end this session, this class. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll be seeing you guys Monday. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. And this is recorded. I'm going to upload it right now so I don't lose it in case you guys